Welcome to another After Dark on the Adam Gold Show, as my friend Jay Kumar and I will discuss the beautiful game, the Premier League, as we have put the first month in our rearview mirror. We'll have a little discussion about the Champions League draw and all of that. And the NFL started, but that's American football. Let's talk actual
Indeed.
football with the feet, Jay.
Let's do it.
All right, sir. First month of the Premier League. Couple of things that jump out to you.
So I got one word for each of the big six clubs. You'll see a theme here.
Okay.
But I think that each of them, it's only been a month, but each of them are kind of establishing their identity pretty quickly. And so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But, City, relentless.
Right.
They don't seem like they're stopping anytime soon. They just
Right.
keep winning. I think an interesting dichotomy is their game against Sheffield United juxtaposed against Arsenal's game against Fulham in the same week.
Right.
City sneak out a win. Arsenal give up a draw. Those 2
Right.
points may end up mattering a lot more later in
Oh,
the
yeah.
season than we realize right now. But
Yeah,
it's
we
the
talked about that last week.
professionalism.
Yep.
Yeah, the professionalism of City to always find a way. Spurs are reborn under
Yes.
Postecoglou. He has transformed that side into something worth watching. They still
Yeah.
have gaps in defense. It showed and they don't have any depth. It showed in the League Cup. They cracked out to
Yes.
Fulham.
Lost
And
to Fulham.
so, another year, another trophy passing Spurs by. We'll see. They've got
Gosh.
3 more chances
The
to
more
win
things
something.
change.
Yeah.
Do they have
Liverpool
three
look.
more chances? They have just two more chances.
Well, I think they're in the year. Are they not in the
No,
Conference League?
they're nowhere.
Oh, nowhere. Okay. Then,
They're
yeah.
nowhere.
2 domestic cups. So we'll see what happens. It might end up being the best thing for them. They can just focus on the league and use that thin
Yeah.
squad to grind it out. Liverpool are rejuvenated. That attack looked good. They've got
Yep.
9 goals in 3 games. They've only given up 3. They still have the best keeper in the league. I think they'll be formidable. I still don't trust that midfield through an entire 38-game season, but
Right.
I think they'll do enough to get Champions League. Chelsea are recalibrating. I think they've got an endless supply of talent, but don't have a number 9 and don't have the right balance in the midfield to actually control the games in the way they want. While they have the stats to support it, it's all wasteful possessions, nothing penetrating the final third, horseshoe ball behind. It just doesn't seem like it's fluid and flowing quite yet. But they got there. They got the pieces. We'll see if they can put it together. Arsenal look reasoned. They are, they suffer that early blow, losing Jurgen Timber, but Declan
Yeah.
Rice seems to be coming into his own and is playing incredible. People who are like kind of sliding him because he's like he used to be all action for West Ham, but now he's a little bit more composed. I don't think you realize in that United game, no player had more progressive carries or
Yep.
passes than Declan Rice. He had over 880 yards by himself of
Yep.
passing and carrying the ball forward. He is driving that midfield and is a force. And then United, they're repugnant. They are dire. They look a mess. I know they've got a win against Wolves. They've got 2 wins, but 2 losses. I just don't see that club really getting through. Ryan O'Hanlon had getting through the season without more kind of stepping on rakes. Ryan
Yep.
O'Hanlon had a great tweet. I don't know if you've seen the latest out of United. It's not great. There's
Oh,
more and
yeah.
more news that off the pitch is a mess. And I love the way he put it. He said, United aren't inherently evil or corrupt, but with that amount of money and no oversight, you invite yourself to evil and corruption. And I think that's a great way of framing it. That club has just been taken over by people who have no morals. And it's unfortunate because it is an amazing club that should be at the top. And I would be remiss if I didn't say United Arsenal is my favorite fixture of the year.
Okay.
It's the most fun. It's has the most history for me. It's my best friend, best man at my wedding is a United fan.
Okay.
I'm an Arsenal fan. Our whole growing up, that was the game. Wenger versus Fergie going for the title. Champions League semifinals. Even though we got smoked, we're playing in those big games. It was just it was awesome, and we hated each other. and it was the best teams. They hated each other, and it was great. Liverpool and City are amazing, but they're too nice. They like each other, like they're friendly, and it's just
Yeah.
not the same hatred that was there that just simmered through. And so I just miss it. I hope they figure out what to do. I hope the Glazers sell just for the sake of that rivalry, but I hope they continue just to be just a notch below where we are. That's kind of my first month impressions of the Big Six.
All right. Well, first of all, let's raise a glass to how crappy City is. Not City. United. No. I will say, part of me blames the schedule because I think, and we talked about this before, if City had played, I'm just going to use Liverpool's schedule because Liverpool's had two very difficult away matches. You start the season at Chelsea. You play at Newcastle. Their home matches of Bournemouth, who, I mean, they're a bottom third of the table club anyway, and Aston Villa, who Liverpool just took their will in the first half, and then that was it. Villa didn't even bother in the second half. It was way too easy of a match. But had City played against those four teams in home and away, I don't think City would be on 12 points. I think they have gotten away with playing relatively mediocre for them, which is still great for anybody else.
Sure.
The end of last season when they were completely ruthless and took everybody's lunch over the last however many matches in a row, 10, 12 matches in a row, that City would have completely destroyed. I mean, they won all four matches, and there's something to be said for that. But they basically slept through the game at Sheffield, slept through it. And were fortunate. They were fortunate to get the win because they just were able to flip a switch in added time, or maybe it might have been late in regular time.
Yeah.
And Rodri was alone, 15 yards out, and Foden just left him a little drop pass, and that was that. And they get all 3 points, but they didn't play very well in that match at all. I think it's been a product of the schedule a little bit, but that I'm not taking anything away from them. I don't think they have played as well as some, in terms of, again, their own standard, as some of the other teams have played. That's all.
I think in year 8 of Pep in the Premier League, it's a little bit of a different animal than he kind of other teams. He knows how to manage that team, and unfortunately, until proven otherwise, they can kind of just turn on a switch when they want to against the bottom half teams. And I think that's what they're doing. They got a Champions League they're going for. They've got all of the competitions. I think he wants to keep them so that at the end of the season, when everything's on the line, they can have all the energy to go all the way through. And at the end of the day, they still have 11 goals for, 2 goals against, largest goal differential, 4 wins, no draws, no losses.
They're amazing.
Even though they're playing,
they're amazing.
And their schedule's been light for sure, and they haven't looked good. But I think it's more of a feature than a bug in terms of how they want to start this season and kind of keep fresh. And knowing that they have a light season, I think they are taking it a little easy, which is, pretty remarkable that you can do in a league as tough as the Premier League.
Yeah, again, I just think that if their schedule was more difficult, they would have either had to play better in order to be 4-0, or they wouldn't have been. They wouldn't be on 12 points. With all of that said, I am not in any way saying that they're not the best team in the league, and I am already at the point 4 matches in that, all right, who's going to get them? Who's going to stay with them all year? I still think that Arsenal has the best top-to-bottom roster, but you can't give away the 2 points against Fulham. So for me, whether it's Arsenal, and I'm going to give a little bit of a chance to Liverpool here because the goal scoring is back. And I was super encouraged against Aston Villa that Joel Matip and Joe Gomez were that good in the middle, because Villa can score. Villa can put a lot of pressure on you. And they completely eliminated that in the first half. And then again, Villa just went away. Villa was not interested. I guess they were really looking forward to the international break. This is like an early week off in high school. A couple of more things. I believe Tottenham and United have flipped spots. United is virtually unwatchable at this point. I mean, they're boring as hell. Except every once in a while, Anthony on the right will have a moment of brilliance without scoring, mind you. But he'll have a moment of brilliance. But other than that, I mean, Rashford's just mediocre so far this year. Nobody
He had a great goal on the weekend.
Oh, he did. He did have a great goal, right?
Yeah.
But that's been basically one of 2 or 3 moments he's had in 4 matches. They're getting nothing out of their midfield. Casemiro, what did I hear Tom Reddy say? He's a couple of stones overweight. I mean, I nearly spit listening to Tom Reddy say that. But they've got major issues. Mason Mount has done 0 for them. And now he's hurt, but he was not even in the starting lineup before he got hurt. So, I mean, again, Tottenham is fun. I'm not sure that my favorite team so far, other than Liverpool, of course, hasn't been Brighton. But again, Brighton's done a lot of their work against the lower clubs. Although, didn't they just teach? Was it Newcastle?
Newcastle. Yeah, they had a great. I mean, Evan Ferguson hat trick, right on cue.
One of 3. Have you already, sir? Do you already have a figure you want Arsenal to present to Brighton in the summer?
If I say it now, they'll up their price by 50 million.
It's probably going to be in the neighborhood of 80.
It'll be 100. It'll be 100.
Other than that, I think if I had a do-over, I might say that the 3 teams that got promoted are all going back. All of them. 2 of them are definitely going back. Luton and Sheffield are definitely going back. And I don't think Burnley's all that good, to be honest. I think Wolves is good enough to stay up.
I think you got 5 teams in that race. Wolves have shown me the most of them.
Yep.
But you named those 3. Everton shouldn't with those 3 teams the way they're playing. But Everton can't seem to get out of their own way. So I think that Everton's going to get dragged into a relegation fight that they don't want to be in. And it'll be again. And so do they have the experience to do it, or are they just tired of doing it? So it'll be really interesting to see. I've been shocked. I thought Burnley would perform a little bit better than what they came out doing. And Luton, obviously, they just don't have it. I hurt for them. I think 12 points is going to be tough, but hey, those parachute payments for the next 3 years is going to change that club forever.
Exactly. And, they can expand their backyard.
Yep. And Sheffield, I don't know. I think Sheffield and Everton and Burnley, they'll be in a 3-way battle for 2 spots, and you throw them in a hat, pull them out. Those two you're going down, one staying up. You could go anyway.
Those matches, when they play each other, that will determine who stays up and who goes down. I have 2 players I want to do. Right, that is true. I have 2 players I want to mention. One of whom you already have talked about, and I've never watched Declan Rice and gone, all right, now I see it. But the more you watch Declan Rice, the more you go, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. He just controls the game, and he's an elite player in 100 different ways. Is always in the right place. I mean, always. I mean, he doesn't score a lot of goals, but there he was, sort of back post. I mean, outside the penalty box, but or the goal box, 6-yard box. But he was in the right spot. So I mean, he's just awesome. This is the way I describe Sebastian Aho. He's gumbo, in that it's not really spicy when you first taste it, and then about 6 spoonfuls in, you go, okay, that's pretty spicy. And I think that's what Declan Rice is. You just he the more you see him, the more you appreciate it. And I'm not sure that the best surprise summer signing wasn't Dominic Szoboszlai from Liverpool. That dude plays 90 minutes plus every match. He's everywhere. He can do anything. And I think Liverpool is going to be in love with him for a long time.
Oh, he's a phenomenal player. I'll start with
Yeah.
Soboslai and I'll go to Rice. But Soboslai at RB Salzburg was awesome.
Yep.
18-year-old dynamo. That summer, we tracked him. I was in love with him, and then he went to RB Leipzig, and it's like, okay, the RB to RB connection. Typically, the next spot is City, and I was like, all right, he's gone to City now. And so I was surprised when Liverpool went after him, but he is so good. I love his technique. He has an engine. He's got
Yep.
that class touch in the final third where whether it's a pass or a shot, he's going to create something.
Yep.
Another name I'd throw in there that's very similar to him, that's been an excellent signing, well, not a surprise to the league, has transformed that team's midfield, is James Madison.
Been great.
Similar situation where he has come in, kind of created some excitement and energy in that part of the pitch that they desperately needed since Eriksson left. And so he's been great. But back to Rice, I don't know what you can say. I got a text in the first half of the United game. What have you guys done to Declan Rice? You've neutered him. He used to be all action, and now he's just sitting back. And I was like, just keep watching. And by the end of the game, 73 passes, 87% completion, 10
Yep.
forward entry passes, 8 progressive passes, most of anyone, 519 yards progressive pass distance, 340 yards progressive carry distance, 2 shots, 5 progressive carries. And then on top of that, 3 interceptions, 3 block passes, 5 ball recoveries, 3 aerials, 1. And he went everywhere from goalpost to goalpost.
Yep.
And played the entire game. And so at the end of the game, the text was, oh, as you said, it's one of those slow simmers that you're just kind of get. And I think as he continues to play, he is hopefully earning every single one of that dollar transfer fee, because it's been needed. And last year, before we played City, Thomas Partey gets hurt.
That's
we
right.
have to play Lakanga. We lose 3-1. Before we play United away, Thomas Partey gets hurt. We have to play Lakanga and Rob Holding. We lose 3-1. This year, before we play United, Thomas Partey gets hurt in training the day before.
Right.
We get to play Declan Rice. And our back line stabilizes. He gets to play a little bit more. And we win 3-1. And I don't think that's coincidence. Now, the score line, maybe, but the result and the ability for us to continue to play our football is not. And I think that's what he really brings to this team. And so he's been fun to see. I'm glad he's doing well. And I think that him, Soboslai, James Madison, those are probably the 3 signings of the summer so far. But I think there have been a lot of fun players in the Premier League to kickstart the season.
Yeah, we've talked about the 2 teams, and I want to move on to a couple of other things. But Tottenham's got some good young players. Heck, I kind of like some of Chelsea's young players too.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't necessarily added up to wins. Malo Gusto is going to be dynamite. Reece James needs to come back healthy. Otherwise, that Gusto kid is just going to take his job because they basically play the same spot. I guess James maybe both players can play further up if they want, but Pochettino likes to play 3 in the back and then play 5 in the midfield. And somebody's going to play that right wing. Right now it's Gusto, but he is a dynamite player. I'm with you on Nico Jackson, except here's a guy that for all of his creativity and offense creation, he hadn't scored much. He had 1 goal, right? Yeah. His expected goals is almost 6. He has not yet gotten it, but he's creating, so I have to assume that the goals will be there. But yeah, there's been tons of great players to watch throughout. And I think
a name. Sorry, go ahead.
Good, no, you go.
No, a name that we should be shouting out that has really, really taken a step forward. He scored the game-winning goal to Sam their first trophy in God knows how many years. But Jared Bowen has been awesome. He is their next £100 million player if he continues to progress at this rate. He has been an excellent player and really has helped carry the weight of the loss of Declan Rice. And then James Ward-Prowse has come in and leads the league in assists. So I think for West Ham, you've got a player with 3 goals, and you got a player with 3 assists, kind of filling up and picking up that slack. It's been awesome to see.
And Michail Antonio is back. He's the guy. He's a guy again. He was terrible last year. So yeah, look, good for them. I mean, it's I don't know if I would call West Ham a big club, but I mean they should be in the top half of the table, and
They're
it's
a
good to see
historic
them off
club,
to a
and
good
they should be in the Premier. They're a Premier League club, similar to Everton.
yeah,
They're a
absolutely.
Premier League club. There's no reason why they shouldn't be in the Premier League and in Europe. Maybe not in the Champions League, but they should be near and around Europe at all times.
Well, they won conference last year. They're in Europa.
Yeah.
We'll get to some of that a little bit, but let's just deal with this topic before we look at the Champions League, and then maybe look ahead to the month of September when the Premier League returns in a week or so. Your thoughts on Jordan Henderson's interview with The Athletic, which is probably ill-advised.
We talked about it last night. I think whoever thought it was a good idea for him to do the interview, I know you said he wanted to do it, then his agent should be fired for not sitting him down and saying, son, do your interview on your iPhone and then delete the voice recording. Like, do not do this. This is a bad idea.
Right.
Because I think he just burned a lot of goodwill. He was always well regarded by opposing fans, by the English media, by everybody for kind of standing for the right thing,
right,
leading as a Premier League captain. The Premier League captains would always meet. It was always talked about Jordan Henderson would be vocal on issues. Now it kind of seems he's, I mean, I don't mean to be rude, but a bit dense and maybe easily just kind of gets told one thing and then goes out and does it, which may be really good as a captain of a club and a manager has somebody who can be his mouthpiece on the field. But if he doesn't have independent thought and the ability to have critical thinking, which is what he showed he did not have in that interview, was critical thinking skills outside of the football pitch, it's a bad look. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was just a bad look, and it was disappointing. I think acting like I saw a tweet is like Jordan Henderson acting like he was on the front lines at Dunkirk for wearing a rainbow armband. Like, come on.
He's got that was going above and beyond.
Yeah.
I'll draw this comparison. That interview reminded me of everything that Greg Norman said about fronting the Live Golf Tour. Everything, to the point where everybody makes mistakes. Chopping up a journalist and putting him in a bag. That's just a mistake. Second chances. It was not a good idea for Henderson to do.
Just say you want the money.
Yeah, that would have been fine. That would have been fine.
He said he went there to develop his game.
Right.
He said develop his game. Come on, man. Your game's done. Like, you're in the bin. Like, it's over.
He said it wasn't about the money, which is maybe it wasn't. And I can understand that. So in a football sense, let's take the money out of it. In a football sense, he was basically, and he admitted that he was pretty much told that he was no longer going to be a featured player, that he was going to slip into the James Milner role, which I would have loved Jordan Henderson to be in, having been, even in my short period of fandom, I loved James Milner for the fact that you could put him anywhere. In fact, Liverpool's win at home against City in the beginning of the season last year when Liverpool was playing its worst, James Milner started at right back in place of Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joe Gomez at right central defense, and Milner shut down Erling Haaland. How is that even possible?
And Milner's doing great for Brighton. He's playing well. He's playing well. I just don't think Henderson has that versatility.
Maybe
that
not.
Milner has.
Maybe not. But he could have simply said that I wasn't going to play. And he mentioned he didn't really want to play against Liverpool. So I get it. So that basically rules out the Premier League. Not basically, it does. Rule out the Premier League. And maybe there were just no other offers for him in Europe, but I find that hard to believe. But ultimately, we all know it was about the money. So maybe it wasn't 4 times his Liverpool wage. Maybe it was only 2.5 times the Liverpool wage. It's still significantly more than he was going to get anywhere else at age 33 playing for a lesser club. So it was about the money. He refused to admit it, and he just looks stupid, just like Greg Norman looks stupid and petty for what he's done.
And as it's the old saying, it's like, sometimes it's best to just not say anything at all.
Right. He
Like,
didn't have to
just
do the interview.
right. He
He
was
could have
fine.
just
I
gone
mean,
about his business.
he was not the player in Saudi Arabia anybody was talking about. Like, he wasn't. Like, it wasn't about him.
Right.
And now it is. I
Yep.
mean, that's some main character energy that I didn't know he had in him. So
Like nobody's beating up Bobby Firmino for
Right.
going to Al Ali. I think he's playing for Al. He's got 3 goals in
Sure.
4 matches. I love Bobby Firmino. I'll always love Bobby Firmino. I love Jordan Henderson, but that was a stupid interview to do. All right, Champions League draw.
Let's do it.
All right, who got the biggest break? By the way, if you don't get this right, I'm going to be upset.
There's only one answer. It's City. I like that
No.
group.
It's not City.
Who do you got?
Arsenal.
No way.
There's
Look at
only
that City
one.
group.
I know the City group. The City group's a piece of cake. I think Leipzig can be. Nobody's going to bother City anyway.
Sure.
Leipzig can be good. I don't think Cervena is very good. Young Boys might be a little bit of a problem as the number 4 in that group. But the pot 1 team in Group B is Sevilla, and they are dead last right now in La Liga.
Hey, but they know how to play in Europe.
20th.
No,
they are
Arsenal
20th.
have a very good draw. I'm not complaining about our draw at all. But if we're talking about the easiest draw to the second round, I mean, City have Cerveza, Zvezda, and Young Boys. Like, I'm sorry. Like, even if they have a tough match against Leipzig, they're waltzing through. And so
no, I'm with you. So is Arsenal,
I would trade places. Oh, yeah, I think so. I think PSV and Sevilla will be tough for second place. Lens, good for them. They finished second in France last year, so that's a fun little group of a bunch of second place teams. PSV second in Europe, second in Netherlands, Arsenal second in England, Lens second in France, and then Sevilla Europa League winners. On paper, you would think, ooh, that's an interesting group. It's not. Arsenal will win it, but the second place battle will be an interesting.
PSV could be good. I think I have PSV coming in second. I love. Do you have any surprises? I'll list the groups. Group A is Bayern, Manchester United, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. Who do you got?
I mean, Bayern are going to win that group going away.
Yep.
It's easy to say United, but the way they're playing, they may do something dumb. But at the end of the day, I think United, Bayern, get out of that group. Copenhagen's kind of a little bit of a feisty club. They always kind of do some interesting stuff in Europe. They've been in the Champions League before. They're good. Galatasaray, I just remember back in like 2001, 2002, when ESPN would show the Champions League. All I can hear is Derek Ray saying Galatasaray every single time.
It's a great thing to say. It took me a while.
It took me a while to get it. But yeah,
Galatasaray finishes second. Manchester United is going to have to try to battle through Europe. Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got that.
All right.
All right. Arsenal 1, PSV 2. Do you have anything different in Group B?
I think Sevilla can give them a good little run, but yeah, Arsenal 1, PSV 2.
All right. Group C. Real. This is a good group. Real, Napoli. Was it Braga and Union Berlin? Union Berlin.
Union. This is a fun group. I think every single game in this group is going to be fun because Union Berlin play fun football. They are a fun German team that will be good. Napoli, first Scudetto in 33 years last year. And then you've got Madrid, who are the Champions League is their home. I mean, they are amazing.
What they play for.
And then Braga's always around. I mean, Braga's a really fun Portuguese side. I think the Portuguese league is a good league. And I think it produces an immense amount of talent that often, when they're in Portugal, kind of get afterthought until you want to buy them. And then you pay $100 million for a Darwin Nunez or $100 million for Fernandez or $70 million for a Rodri, all from Benfica, who have amassed the largest transfer collection of any club in Europe. But this is kind of
where Nunez came from, right? Did you say Nunez?
Yep. Yeah. All 3 of them were on the same team: Enzo Fernandez, Darwin Nunez, and Rodri. That's a good team. And so, yeah, it's Madrid and Napoli. I think they'll end up pulling through.
That's what I have. Group D, Inter Milan, Benfica, Salzburg, and Real Sociedad. Who do you like?
Man, I really want to pick Sociedad because Kieran Tierney went out there. I think they're good, but as I just mentioned, Benfica are sneakily one of the best run clubs in world football.
Uh-huh.
I was in Lisbon last year, and Benfica and Sporting, they're just really fun clubs. They have great community engagement, and what's neat is their stadiums. When you're flying out of Lisbon, they're right next to each other. It's like
Right.
Anfield and Goodison Park. But what's even better is the way they built those stadiums is they put grocery stores and shopping centers inside of them. So on non-match days, people use them. It's
Oh,
a
wow.
community asset. And so I will talk nothing but great things about Lisbon and the city. So I think Benfica come out of this group just because I think they are a well-run club who have good players. And Inter are last year's finalists. And actually, these two played in last season's quarterfinal. And
Okay.
Inter came out on top. So those two, but Sociedad will sneak a point here. And Salzburg are feisty, but I think they'll finish bottom.
I have Benfica 1 and Inter 2. All right, Group E, Atletico Madrid, Feyenoord, Lazio, and Celtic.
Again, I think it'll be interesting. I think Atletico are clearly through, and then of the other three, you could kind of make a case for any of them except for Celtic. I think the Scottish League just isn't good enough. I think they can get into Europe, but they just don't have the depth. Lazio are fun, and they finished second in Serie A last year.
Struggling so far this year, though.
I think they haven't done great. They look dismal. They've lost to Lecce and Genoa. So I'm going to take Feyenoord in second on this group.
That's what I have as well. Feyenoord's been, I think, fun. And I think the Dutch league in general is fun. Yes. There's a lot of scoring. If you like goals, I think that's the league to watch. Group F, PSG, Dortmund, Milan. This is the group of death. Milan and Newcastle. I got Newcastle fourth, and Newcastle might come out of, like, if somehow Newcastle was in Arsenal's group or City's group, I think they might finish second. But they're going to finish fourth in this group, and I've got Milan going through, PSG winning the group, and then probably losing in the quarterfinals or maybe the round of 16. But I have Dortmund staying out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. I think Dortmund, I haven't admittedly watched much of them this year, but losing the Bundesliga on the final day of the season and then losing Rafael Guerrero and Jude Bellingham in the summer, it's just hard to continue to reload like that club has. I mean, they're Brighton on steroids in Germany and in Europe. And so I think they actually finish bottom. Newcastle sneak a third and go into Europa. But I've got the same two, PSG and Milan, 1-2 in that order in this group.
All right, City and Leipzig are through. Cerveza and Young Boys are not. I think Young Boys will probably finish third ahead of Cerveza.
Yeah, and most people know them as Red Star Belgrade, but I
like Cerveza. I think it's better.
Yeah, I think it's more fun. It's authentic, right? I don't know. You tell me. Sure. Young Boys third.
And then Group H, Barca, Porto, Shakhtar, and Antwerp.
So another fun league is the Belgian league. I think that's another fun league to check out if you're looking for just kind of young talent or eclectic clubs that play a pretty attacking style. I would suggest you find them out there. Antwerp, they're kind of in the similar boat to Napoli. They won the first league title in 60 years. And then the previous time they got to the Champions League after winning the title was in 58. And they played Real Madrid and lost 8-1. I think this time they're going to play Barcelona and could lose 8-1. But I think Barcelona and Porto go through in this group.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question at all. Have you studied the Europa? I know you haven't, and you should.
I looked at it, this afternoon, knowing we were going to talk about it,
No, we're
and
not
I
going to talk
know
about it.
I
We're not
know
gonna-
like 2/3 of the teams. So
right.
if you want to, we can
No,
talk
no,
about
no,
it. But
no, no,
I
no,
would
we're
be.
not. We're not.
That would
I've been
be
following it because I know the Liverpool is in it. I
Yeah.
like Liverpool's group. Lask, Union Saint Gilloise. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. Also from the Belgian league. By the way, do you know that Kevin McAllister is a midfielder for Union Saint Gilloise? Alexis McAllister's brother, and they are in the same group. So
I was
isn't
just
that
thinking
awesome?
Home Alone for Kevin McAllister.
There you go. Isn't that great? And Toulouse, who's in
yeah.
the obviously League One.
Nice. I think Brighton. I did look. Brighton's group is tough.
Yes.
Ajax, Marseille, Brighton, and AEK Athens. That's
that is a tough group. That's a tougher
so
group than
Arsenal has.
Arsenal has, yes.
No. I think PSV is better than Ajax, to be fair, right now. They did win the Dutch league. So and Lens finished ahead of Marseille. But no, that's a tough group. That'll be, the Europa League is a league that's fun to watch on a Thursday when there's nothing else on, kind of like Chiefs Lions. But I'll watch that group. That'll be a good group. So it'll be fun, and it's cool to see different places. And hopefully, I like watching it for some sleeper players that can break out and hopefully have some transfer gossip coming in.
Here's what I'm not going to say I'm going to watch a ton. I'll watch the Liverpool matches, and if something else catches my eye, definitely. Same thing with Conference League, and Aston Villa is the only Premier League club in conference, and they'll probably I don't know if they'll win that or not, but we know Emery is great in European competition.
But it'll be good for Villa. I think.
Oh, absolutely.
And
this will be good for Brighton also. Europa will be great for Brighton.
I think so. And that's what was awesome. So West Ham, who had more fun celebrating their trophy at the end of the year? City fans in their treble or West Ham fans in their Conference League?
B.
Exactly. And so that's what that competition is for. Football, I know people are like, oh, it's too much football. It's a joke league. Yep. It's not for us in terms of Arsenal and Liverpool. If we're in there, we're not going to be happy about it. We'll be happy with a trophy at the end of it. But it's for clubs that don't have that 40-year trophy droughts, and they get to break it, and their fans are crying because they saw a trophy in their lifetime.
Right.
I mean, that's what makes the game great.
It's funny. I had a conversation with again Tom Rennie about that, and when I had him on the show, and Rennie was talking about that's what competition is about. So he said more of those. Less of these Carabao Cup or FA Cup. No, one of them, yes. We don't need both of them. We don't need two of them. One of those, and even do another European competition. Just something. So, look, I get it. City. Why does City want to play in Carabao? I mean, Tottenham probably should have taken it a little bit more seriously, but why does City want to play in that? And so I wouldn't be surprised if City lost, even to anybody in the first time they come up against a Premier League team where it's not an embarrassing loss. I wouldn't be surprised if they mailed it in.
But they don't. Pep loves that tournament. He says he's talked about that tournament as the most important tournament because that's the kickoff to the run in for him. He goes, I win a final. I get the taste of silverware in my players' mouths, and they're off and running. Huh?
What did they win this past year?
I don't know, but they've won 5 of the last 6.
Oh, did they win 5 of the last? Well, Liverpool won 2 years ago. Yeah.
So let's see: City, Carabao Cup.
You're pulling it up. Okay.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Well,
it's the beauty of live podcasting, guys. Let's see.
I know Liverpool won it 2 years ago. They beat Chelsea in penalties, and last year it was United beat Brighton.
So City have won the League Cup a record 18 times, and since Pep has gotten there, they've won it in 13-14, 15-16, 17-18, 18-19, 19-20, 20-21.
Never mind. Never mind. All right.
He loves that tournament. But I agree. But you know who doesn't? Klopp will play the kids in that tournament. Arsene Wenger used to say, "This is my chance to see my academy players play." He used to notoriously field U16 teams, U21 teams in that tournament. So, I agree. It's not. There's if you have two squads like City do, you can do that. Most clubs can't.
I am curious how seriously Liverpool will take Europa. I really am. I don't know how seriously they'll take it. I'm not saying they won't. And I'm not trying to, in advance, self-medicate, because I think if you're in a competition like that, I think you go and win it. And Liverpool's got enough depth, I think. And you had mentioned you don't think that they have enough midfield depth. I actually think they do. My concern is the back line.
Sure.
But even in a limited sample size, I've liked what I've seen from Jarell Quansah, the young kid. And I think Klopp likes what he's seen from him. But ultimately, they need Van Dijk and Konate to be healthy and available. But it was encouraging to see Matip play well and Joe Gomez play well. And I think actually Trent didn't come inside too much against Villa. He stayed on the wing. I actually like it better when he's just doing his thing. Look, he's going to get burned. I mean, that's what Trent Alexander-Arnold does. He's going to get burned on the right at times. So I'm not so concerned about that. But
as a Europa League aficionado, after being there for 6 years, I'll tell you, you only care about it when you care about it.
Right.
And so for a team like Liverpool, I think they'll coast through the group stages. There'll be that break. The key is winning their group. They have to win their group, because in the Europa League, if you win your group, you get a bye. And so you don't play the Champions League drop down. So that game is 2 extra legs in a very congested fixture list. If they get through their group top and they get into that knockout phase, depending on where they are in the Premier League, if they're safely in top 4 and they feel like they can coast, then I think they take it seriously and they want to send a marker for next season with a trophy. If they are battling for 4th and battling for Champions League and it is tight, you may see them start to take that competition less seriously, because they're going to have to prioritize. But the beauty of winning the Europa League is if you win it, you're in the Champions League. So if they're not safely in 4th, then they're going to focus on Europa League. So it's going to be interesting. The quarterfinals. Yep.
So
the quarterfinals
your group.
and the semifinals. Those are the 2 legs that really decide where you are, and they're come at really interesting points in the season where you have to make a decision on prioritization. And it'll be interesting to see what Klopp does, because I don't think he's been in this situation before, or if he has, it hasn't been in a while.
If their health is good, again, the depth of the midfield, because I actually think we've seen, and they're both coming off the bench, although Curtis Jones started against Villa. Jones has been, I think, very effective. Harvey Elliott coming on as a sub has been great. They haven't even gotten Stefan Bajcetic back in the lineup yet. He's been in the team, but he has not been put on the field yet. And I know, like, part of the reason why they didn't go hard after another defensive mid is that they think the world of Bajcetic. And he played, 5, 6, 7 matches in a row last year. And I think he surprised everybody by how good he was. And they're waiting to get him back into the rotation. I think he'll go back there. I think they're going to sign another defensive midfielder. I think they're going to try to sign Andre. I don't know Andre's last name, from Luminense in the Brazilian league. Their league's going to be over. And I think
January's a good time for South American players.
Exactly. I think he'll come in January. And they also have Gravenberch. So they've got so many more good, young, I think, versatile midfielders. I'm not so concerned about them in the midfield, as long as they don't suffer, an injury or two that they can't deal with. A long-term thing would be bad.
I actually had forgotten about Gravenberch. I think he'll be a good player. He has the potential to be a really excellent player, but he can also turn into a Donny van de Beek if we're not careful. Because that was a player that I rated extremely highly coming out of Ajax. Just kind of quite settled at United.
I mean, I think Gravenberch's going to play a lot.
He's a good player.
I wouldn't be surprised if, like when they come out of the international break, if they didn't start McAllister at the 6 and play Gravenberg and Soberslai up front, in the two attacking
Yeah.
midfield spots. And that's a pretty good midfield, even though
It's solid.
McAllister's not. Yeah, I mean, Max
It's a
not
little
necessarily
light.
he's not a six, but
It's a little light at the six, and with if Trent gets beat and McAllister's there, you could have some gaps. But against lower sides, that's you have enough of an attack that should be fine.
yes,
It just
yeah.
matters, and when you get in the big games, what are you going to do? And can you set up and close up shop well enough, or you do have the best keeper in the world that can bail you out of situations, and he's worth a win or two a year, and that's huge.
I mean, I think you can put 3 points that you got. I know Darwin scored the 2 goals, and by the way, he's been really good in short bursts, and he was very good. Soboslai and Nunez were probably their 2 best forward players against Villa. But I completely forgot where I was going. But I think against City, I don't know. I do like what Liverpool has done so far, but against the lower clubs, as you said, they can go with McAllister. But I also think that Endo is going to play well, and I think you'll see them use more defensive lineups at times. But I also want to see Bajcetic come back into the lineup, and I guess it's late. In added time, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, one last thing, real quick. Shout out Chris Bunn, local guy, designs kits, designed World Cup kits for the U.S. national team because he thought the Nike ones were terrible. He does a great job. Check him out on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever it is. Chris Bunn, my guy, local, awesome dude. All right.
I don't have any plugs, but I will congratulate you for winning last week. I didn't want to forget. You did. You won last week. I didn't want to forget.
Where are we, by the way?
The standings. We all had the same record, but you won better games. So you were the. I think you weren't the only plus. Jack also was plus money. I was. I think I was just minus. No, I was basically even. So you are at 1585. I was dead even. You were at 1585. I am at 2210. Jack is still underwater at 135. But we were all 6-4 last week. So 26-13, 3-0 in Big Six matchups. You are 25-14, 2-1. Jack is 22-17. Yet to win a Big Six matchup. But we have no games to pick this week. We'll pick games. We'll do this again next week, sir.
Real quick, who do you got? App or UNC?
I'll take the Tar Heels in a crazy one. I will take sadly, I will take Notre Dame but I think if it's low scoring enough, I'll give the Wolfpack a puncher's chance. I'm terrified of them getting run over. And who is Duke going to play in the ACC championship game, Jay?
Florida State, right? Or are we going to get it? Are we going to get it?
It'll be a rematch.
Carolina. We're going to get the Duke Carolina final that everyone's been clamoring for. Oh, wait, that's basketball. Yeah, I think State may have a outside shot of covering -7.5. Line keeps moving closer to State, which worries me. It opened at 9, and now it's at 7.5. I don't get it, and I guess I think they're banking on Hartman being over at Carter Finley, but I don't think that matters much. He's never
Notre Dame ain't played anybody, Paul.
Yeah, I don't think Hartman's ever been behind an offensive line as good as Notre Dame's is right now.
It's crazy.
And yeah, UNC should handle App pretty well. It'll be interesting first half, but I think
it won't be easy. It won't be easy. No chance. And real quick, I'm going to talk about this on the show.
Yeah.
What an own goal by the NCAA not allowing Tez Walker to be eligible. And a total own goal.
Not going to call out any of your esteemed sports media colleagues, but some of the horrible takes trying to play gotcha games on Mac's earlier comments. I'm a State fan, and I think it's so disingenuous to say what Mac was saying around the 2 transfer rule earlier in the spring, coming back and biting him. No,
Well,
the NCAA made a goof. I understand you wanted the rule. I think it's a dumb rule. I think players should have autonomy to transfer wherever they want, just like coaches.
Yes, and I've always I don't believe there should be any restrictions. I don't care if you transfer 4 times, whatever. I mean,
yeah, you can only play for one team a season. That's the only rule.
you can't get traded.
Unless let's just open a window, right? I'll take 2 linemen from Florida State.
Oh gosh, that would be
awesome.
But I'm not necessarily giving Mac a hard time, because it's not just Mac. But when coaches and administrators spend so much time complaining about the freedom of movement, and the NCAA hears their complaints and enacts a rule to make it more difficult, more restrictive for that second move, and then they fast track the move to be to go into effect immediately, as opposed to waiting a year. So all of the players who might have transferred before the rule changed, like Tez Walker, get caught up in it. I'm not saying this is what you get, Mac, but this is what the system gets for being anti-player freedom at every turn. So
absolutely,
there is an element of that, but I'm not playing a gotcha game, because ultimately Mac and Bubba and Kevin Gustowitz, and they all put their statements out. I agree with all of them. The NCAA, where is the humanity if you are about player,
wellness and well-being?
What are you doing? It's the easiest decision in the world.
Right.
But I'm going to give Greg Barnes another shout out here. I've been talking about the piece he wrote for Inside Carolina for 2 days now. If you read the piece, and the thing that it smacked me in the face, and why I was always pessimistic once I read it, was that they didn't buy Tez Walker's transfer from Central to Kent State. They basically didn't give him any credit for doing that, because he was afraid that the MEAC wouldn't play in the fall. They just went, there's nothing unique about that. So they basically forecast their decision then. And once that hits home, you go, you know what? They didn't buy that one. They're not going to buy this one. And I know Tez Walker had reportedly done a great job of making his case personally to the committee, but ultimately their decision had already been made. So unless you were presenting new and unique information to them, they weren't going to change their minds. And I think it sucks. And the other thing is, who's the aggrieved party here? The only possible aggrieved party would have been Kent State, and Kent State advocated for the kid.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And at the end of the day, if we're about the kids, be about them.
We're not.
But you're not. And I think every single signal this summer has indicated it is about the money.
Yep.
And the kids are a tool to make money. And you know what? We'll decide to enforce our rules as arbitrarily as possible. And if there's something that can bring this region together, Duke State and Carolina fans, it is the hatred and the ineptitude of the NCAA and laughing at Dabo Swinney.
I almost felt bad for Dabo Swinney. I almost felt bad for him, but he's in denial. That offense is terrible. That offense is not good enough. They will not beat good teams.
They don't have
that offense.
They don't have wide receivers. They don't have playmakers on the outside.
They do not.
All right.
They absolutely do not.
We spent way too much talking about the wrong football at the end of this, but
we did.
See you in 2 weeks. Catch some international soccer in the break.
That's right. Absolutely. All right, man. Peace.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, everybody.